Welcome back to Stoic Mindset. Today, we're tackling a topic that everyone in modern life needs to hear. The 7 deadly mistakes that many people make every day. Mistakes that Stoics would never allow to take control of their lives. In the fast-paced, high-pressure world we live in, it's easy to get caught up in unhealthy habits, misguided priorities, and emotional traps. But what if we told you that by adopting a Stoic approach, you could avoid these modern pitfalls and lead a life of greater peace, wisdom, and fulfillment? Think about it. How many times have you seen people consumed by stress, social media, or the constant pursuit of material success, only to end up feeling empty inside? Or perhaps you've been there yourself, caught in the cycle of overthinking, anxiety, and comparison. The truth is, many of the mistakes we make today aren't new. They're just dressed up in modern clothes. But the Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, offer clear solutions that can help you break free from these traps and live a life that's aligned with your values and true self. In this video, we'll explore the 7 deadly modern life mistakes that Stoics would never make. Each of these mistakes represents a common trap in our society. Whether it's chasing external validation, becoming overwhelmed by distractions, or allowing fear and anger to control our decisions. We'll break down how Stoic philosophy can provide the tools you need to avoid these mistakes and live with greater purpose and clarity. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand what these mistakes are, but also learn how to sidestep them, using the principles of Stoicism to lead a more intentional, peaceful life. Stick around until the end, where I'll share some actionable tips on how you can start applying these Stoic principles to your daily life. Let's dive in. Number 1. Chasing external validation. One of the biggest traps of modern life is the constant chase for external validation. Whether it's through social media likes, career achievements, or approval from peers, many people measure their worth by what others think of them. This need for validation can drive you to shape your life around other people's expectations instead of your own values. For Stoics, this is a fundamental mistake, because true contentment and peace can only come from within. In today's world, social media plays a massive role in this. People post their achievements, their travels, their curated versions of happiness, and we often feel pressured to keep up or outdo them. We check our phones constantly, waiting for likes, comments, or followers, thinking that the more attention we get, the more valuable we are. But Stoicism teaches us that these external measures of worth are fleeting and superficial. The Stoics believed that seeking validation from others is a form of enslavement. You are letting other people's opinions dictate how you live your life. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius would remind us that our worth is not dependent on what others think or say about us. In his Meditations, Marcus consistently advises against worrying about what others think, focusing instead on living in accordance with nature and one's own virtues. In essence, the Stoics knew that the more you chase after external validation, the more you lose control of your own happiness. You become a prisoner to the opinions of others, and that's a recipe for emotional instability. The solution is to turn inward. Instead of seeking approval from others, focus on self-approval. Ask yourself, am I living in a way that aligns with my values? Am I doing what I know to be right, regardless of what others might think? When you stop relying on external validation and start trusting your inner sense of right and wrong, you'll experience true freedom. You'll no longer feel the need to compete with others or prove yourself, because you'll know that your worth comes from within. In practical terms, this means limiting your time on social media, avoiding the comparison trap, and focusing on what really matters. The Stoics would never let themselves be controlled by other people's opinions, and you don't have to either. By cultivating inner confidence and aligning with your values, you'll discover a deeper, more lasting sense of peace and fulfillment. Number 2. Letting distractions rule your life. In the modern age, distractions are everywhere. From endless notifications on our phones to the constant bombardment of media, entertainment, and news, we are living in a world where it's increasingly difficult to focus on what truly matters. Distractions pull us in a million different directions, making it harder to concentrate on our goals, our relationships, or even just being present in the moment. But the Stoics understood the power of focus and intentionality, and they would never allow distractions to rule their lives. In Stoicism, The ability to concentrate on what is within your control is one of the core teachings. The Stoics believed that the only things you truly control are your thoughts, actions, and reactions. Everything else, what other people do, what happens in the world, or even your circumstances, is beyond your control. By focusing only on what you can control, Stoics are able to stay centered and avoid being overwhelmed by distractions. Contrast that with how most of us live today. We're constantly checking our phones, switching between apps, responding to emails, and scrolling through social media. We've trained our brains to crave constant stimulation, and as a result, our ability to focus has diminished. This scattered attention makes it harder to achieve our goals, build meaningful relationships, or even enjoy simple moments of peace. The more distracted we are, the less connected we are to our true selves and the people around us. The Stoics, however, valued clarity of mind above all else. They practiced what we now call mindfulness, although they wouldn't have used that term. To the Stoics, being fully present in the moment was a way of life. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of being mindful of your thoughts and actions, reminding himself to stay focused on what is essential. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, taught that we should guard our attention carefully, because our thoughts shape our actions and, ultimately, our lives. If you want to avoid this modern life mistake, the key is to simplify and prioritize. What are the things that truly matter to you? What activities, people, or goals deserve your full attention? By identifying these core priorities, you can begin to cut out the distractions that don't align with your purpose. Set boundaries for how much time you spend on your phone or watching TV. Develop habits that help you stay present, like meditation, journaling, or simply taking time to reflect on your day. By practicing focus and cutting out unnecessary distractions, you'll regain control over your life. You'll find that you have more time and energy to devote to what truly matters, and you'll experience a greater sense of accomplishment and inner peace. Stoics would never allow distractions to derail them, and with the right mindset, you don't have to either. Number 3, overthinking and ruminating on the past. Another deadly modern mistake is the tendency to overthink and dwell on the past. Many of us spend far too much time replaying old conversations, regretting past decisions, or imagining how things could have gone differently. We get stuck in a loop of what-ifs and if-onlys, which leads to anxiety, stress, and a sense of helplessness. The Stoics, however, would never waste time ruminating on the past, because they understood that it's something beyond our control. For the Stoics, the past is something that cannot be changed. No amount of thinking, worrying, or regret can alter what has already happened. Instead of dwelling on the past, Stoic philosophers like Seneca taught that we should focus on the present moment and the actions we can take now to improve our future. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This means that much of our suffering comes not from the events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about those events. When you overthink, you're essentially trapping yourself in a mental prison. You're replaying past events over and over, hoping to find some new insight or resolution, but the reality is that nothing will change unless you act in the present. The more time you spend in your head, the less time you spend actually living your life. Overthinking can lead to paralysis by analysis, where you're so caught up in your thoughts that you're unable to move forward or make decisions. The Stoics believed in the power of action. Instead of ruminating on the past or worrying about the future, they focused on what they could do right now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This reflects the Stoic emphasis on taking action rather than being lost in thought. Rather than overthinking, the Stoics would advise us to make decisions based on our values and then move forward with confidence, knowing that we've done our best. If you find yourself overthinking or dwelling on the past, practice the Stoic art of letting go. Remind yourself that the past is beyond your control, and the only thing you can influence is the present moment. Focus on what you can do now, in this moment, to improve your life or align with your values. Let go of the what-ifs and focus on the what now. By living in the present, you'll free yourself from the mental traps of overthinking and experience more peace and clarity in your day-to-day life. Number 4, allowing fear to paralyze you. Fear is a powerful emotion that often holds people back from living their best lives. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of the unknown, many of us allow fear to dictate our decisions and prevent us from pursuing our dreams. But for Stoics, allowing fear to control your life is one of the deadliest mistakes you can make. Stoics believe that fear, while a natural human emotion, should never have the power to paralyze you or stop you from taking action. One of the fundamental teachings of Stoicism is the idea that fear comes from focusing on things outside of our control. When we're afraid of failing at something, for example, it's often because we're fixating on the outcome rather than the process. We fear what others will think or whether we'll succeed or fail, but the Stoics teach us to focus on what is within our control: our effort, our actions, and our mindset. When you focus on what you can control, fear loses its power. In fact, Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote extensively about how to overcome fear. He believed that the anticipation of fear is often worse than the event itself. In other words, we spend so much time worrying about what might happen that we make the fear larger than it needs to be. The Stoic approach is to face your fears head-on and take action despite them. This is what the Stoics called courage in the face of fear. Rather than trying to eliminate fear altogether, the Stoics believed in acknowledging fear and then moving forward anyway. Imagine how many opportunities are lost because people allow fear to paralyze them. You might hesitate to apply for that dream job because you're afraid of being rejected. You might avoid asking someone out because you fear rejection. Or you might hold back on pursuing a passion because you're worried you'll fail. The Stoics understood that these fears are part of life, but they also knew that the only way to overcome them is to act despite the fear. In doing so, you build resilience and strengthen your character. To overcome this deadly mistake, take a Stoic approach to fear. Acknowledge your fears, but don't let them dictate your actions. Focus on what you can control, your effort, your decisions, and your mindset, and trust that whatever happens, you'll be able to handle it. Fear doesn't have to be a roadblock in your life. It can be a stepping stone to growth. The more you face your fears, the less power they have over you, and the more you'll be able to live a life of courage and purpose. Number 5. Allowing anger to control your actions. Anger is one of the most destructive emotions in modern life, and it's one of the deadliest mistakes you can make if you allow it to dictate your actions. Whether it's anger toward a person, a situation, or even yourself, letting anger control you leads to poor decisions, broken relationships, and a constant state of inner turmoil. The Stoics recognized this danger and taught that anger is not only harmful but often pointless. Stoic philosophers believed that anger clouds your judgment and takes you away from rational thinking, which is at the core of living a good life. In the modern world, anger seems almost unavoidable. We get angry at traffic, at political debates, at people who disagree with us, and even at our own mistakes. But the Stoics understood that anger is often just a reaction to things outside our control. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote extensively about the futility of anger, reminding himself that getting upset at the world around him would only harm his peace of mind. He believed that if something external happens that is beyond your control, reacting with anger is pointless, because it doesn't change the situation, it only disturbs your inner peace. The problem with anger is that it often causes you to act impulsively, without thinking. You might say something hurtful in the heat of the moment or make a decision that you'll regret later. Stoicism teaches that it's essential to pause when you feel anger rising and to reflect before you act. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote a famous essay on anger, where he compared anger to temporary madness. He believed that once anger takes over, you lose your ability to reason, which is why it's so important to learn how to control it. The Stoics had practical advice for managing anger. One of the key teachings is to remember that the only person who can make you angry is yourself. It's not the external event that causes your anger. It's your interpretation of that event. If someone insults you, for example, it's your choice whether to take offense or to remain indifferent. Stoicism teaches us that we have the power to choose our emotional responses, and by choosing not to get angry, we maintain control over our own minds and actions. If you find yourself struggling with anger, try practicing the Stoic approach. When you feel anger rising, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? Will reacting with anger improve the situation? More often than not, the answer will be no. By taking a moment to reflect, You give yourself the space to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Stoics would never let anger control their actions, and neither should you. By mastering your emotions, especially anger, you'll live with more peace and wisdom. Number 6. Being a slave to materialism. In modern life, materialism is a trap that many fall into without even realizing it. We are constantly bombarded with advertisements, social media influencers, and societal pressures that tell us we need more. More clothes, more gadgets, more luxury to be happy. But the Stoics would never make the mistake of believing that material possessions are the key to happiness. For them, true contentment comes from living a virtuous life, not from accumulating wealth or possessions. The problem with materialism is that it creates a never-ending cycle of desire. You buy something new and for a while you feel happy, but soon, that feeling fades, and you're left wanting something else. This cycle continues, and no matter how much you accumulate, it's never enough. The Stoics understood that this kind of desire is a trap. Epictetus famously said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In other words, true wealth comes from being content with what you have, rather than constantly seeking more. Materialism also creates a sense of attachment that can lead to suffering. The more attached you are to your possessions, the more you fear losing them. This fear can cause anxiety and stress, as you constantly worry about protecting what you've acquired. But Stoicism teaches that everything external, whether it's wealth, possessions, or even relationships, is temporary and outside your control. If you base your happiness on these things, you're setting yourself up for disappointment when they inevitably change or disappear. Stoic philosophers like Seneca lived by the principle of voluntary poverty, where they would occasionally live without luxuries to remind themselves that they didn't need them to be happy. Seneca believed that by practicing self-restraint and living simply, you free yourself from the burden of materialism. This doesn't mean you have to live in poverty or give up all your possessions, but it does mean that you should cultivate a mindset where your happiness isn't tied to what you own. The less you need, the freer you are. To avoid the trap of materialism, practice gratitude and focus on what truly matters: your health, your relationships, your personal growth, and your inner peace. The Stoics would never let material possessions define their worth or happiness, and neither should you. By detaching from the constant need for more, you'll find that true contentment comes not from what you own, but from how you live and the values you uphold. Number 7. Ignoring the power of the present moment. One of the most common mistakes people make in modern life is failing to live in the present moment. With our minds constantly racing toward the future or dwelling on the past, we often miss the beauty and peace that can be found in the here and now. The Stoics, however, understood that the present moment is all we truly have, and they would never make the mistake of ignoring its power. Stoicism teaches that the key to a fulfilling life is to live fully in the present, embracing each moment as it comes. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in what's next. We're always planning for the future, setting goals, and worrying about what might happen. While it's important to prepare for the future, the problem arises when we become so focused on what's ahead that we forget to appreciate the present. The Stoics believed that the future is uncertain and beyond our control, and the only thing we truly have is the present moment. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of living in the present, reminding himself not to waste time worrying about what's to come. Dwelling on the past is another trap. Many people spend hours ruminating on past mistakes, regrets, or missed opportunities. Stoicism teaches that the past is gone, and there is no benefit in constantly revisiting it. Seneca wrote, "Life is divided into 3 parts: past, present, and future. Of these, the present is short, the future is doubtful, and the past is certain." What Seneca meant is that the past cannot be changed, the future is unpredictable, but the present is where we have the power to act and make a difference. When you focus on the present moment, you become more mindful of your thoughts, actions, and surroundings. You appreciate the little things, like the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds singing, or the taste of your favorite food. You also become more aware of your emotional state and can respond to situations with greater clarity and calm. The Stoics practiced mindfulness long before it became a modern trend, and they understood that by grounding yourself in the present, you can live a more peaceful and intentional life. To live in the present, try practicing mindfulness in your daily life. Take moments throughout the day to pause and check in with yourself. Are you fully engaged with what's happening around you? Or are you lost in thoughts about the future or the past? By training your mind to stay present, you'll not only reduce stress and anxiety, but you'll also experience more joy and fulfillment in everyday moments. The Stoics would never let the present moment slip away unnoticed. And with practice, neither will you. We've covered the 7 deadly modern life mistakes that Stoics would never make. Chasing external validation, allowing distractions to rule your life, overthinking and ruminating on the past, letting fear paralyze you, allowing anger to control your actions, being a slave to materialism, and ignoring the power of the present moment. Each of these mistakes can lead to unhappiness, stress, and dissatisfaction in life, but by applying Stoic principles, you can avoid these traps and live a life of greater purpose and peace. Thank you for watching today's video on Stoic mindset. If you found these insights helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, Stoicism offers timeless wisdom that can help you navigate the challenges of modern life with clarity and calm. By avoiding these 7 deadly mistakes and embracing the teachings of Stoicism, you'll be on your way to living a more intentional, fulfilled, and balanced life. See you next time.